Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this video. Today we are going to do something, strange. Today we're going to be doing a rant. Thanks to, Bootnik and the Wade Manor server, I was able to get a link to, watch the Injustice movie. I watched it. And, we need to talk about it. It's not just bad. It is, like, catastrophically bad. Okay, so I wasn't going to do anything about this at first. I wasn't even going to create this rant. I wasn't even going to create this video. But for some reason, unlike any other movie before, like, for some reason it has this weird, like, poisoning effect. Sort of where, at first, like, I watched the movie and it's like, okay, that was bizarre. But I just, like, keep on going about my day, play games, go to work, whatever. And then it's like, it keeps on festering. And, like, keeps on going and is building. And it's like, whoa, did that happen? Wait? And then, like, the more that I think about it, the worse it gets. And, like, continuously that keeps on happening. So, today we're going to be talking about the Injustice movie. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, then we're going to jump straight into it. First off, if some of you are confused somehow and you live under a rock, a hermit if you will, no. This is not based off of the game. Not technically. Well, okay. So there was the game that came out in 2013. Everybody had, it was something, to say the least. So, the game came out. However, what's important to this story in particular is that it's not really based off of the game. Not necessarily. You see, there's this time gap between the first intro of the game and then 5 years later. The comic is, which mostly this is based off of, is in between this 5-year time gap, right? So the comic is actually pretty important, not based off of the game, which is funny because it's a comic book. It's based off of a comic book, based off of a game, based off of a comic book, based into a movie. Which is already like 7,000 levels of irony, but fine, right? That's cool, right? So I'm going to give you a quick rundown. The comic is... Okay, so I like it. I think it's good. Does that mean it's great? No. I will not say that Injustice, the comic book, is perfect. Because it is not. Lord, it is not. But there are some things that I do like about the comic. And some things that do make it into the movie. The problem is that the movie, the movie makes it really bad. Like, to a frustrating degree, right? So we're going to top off each of these individual billboard points based off of this movie. We're going to kind of go in order in terms of all the problems and issues this movie has. Now, for me, I'd say it's just barely a 2 out of 10. But looking at all these notes that I have on it, I'm thinking maybe like a 1. I think that's like around where I'm thinking right now. I think I'm going to lower it, okay? Because this is awful. This is really bad. And for some of you, this is going to be very, very funny, to say the least, how bad this writing gets out of control so quickly. So, we will be talking about that in depth, of course. So, a few things worth mentioning. I'm only going to show a little bit of the movie because I don't want to get copyrighted and, like, the whole video gets taken down and then banished into the Phantom Zone. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to use brief clips, maybe possibly every now and again. I'm not going to use too much, so don't expect a video of me using the video, or the movie in this case, as like full footage. This is gonna kind of be an orderly rant, to say the least. Of course, I gave the place a little bit more of a cinematic look, looks a little bit darker, makes the colors kind of pop out a little bit more. Hope you like that. So first off, we have the first problem. Batman and Superman start talking about their secret identity in front of criminals. No, I'm not making this up. And yes, that some of them may be knocked out, but even then, they should not be doing this around criminals. It's really just that simple. You see, the first action scene in the movie is terrible. Like, literally, there's the guy, when fighting him, that just kind of waits his turn while getting hit. Like, he's like, punch. Wait, punch. It's not like he's recovering from like a certain hit. He's just standing there like this most of the time. Already, great action. Peak action. Hit him, hit him, hit him. Nah, I guess not. And then we have the Joker just kind of teleporting in front of Jimmy. Because, like, Lois would be able to see him and Jimmy, but, he just kind of teleports in front of him and then shoots him, even though he ended up being way from behind. So how did he shoot him when his camera was at this angle, and he shot him from here?
We wanted to know if it could be used to cure disease or as a power source.
So, okay. I may. This is a very big may. Maybe it could be used as a power source. Possibly. That is possible. But when does a rock from another planet cure people's diseases? And then Batman just kind of knows that Lois was by the dock. How does he know this? Did Superman tell him? No. Did the Black Plane tell him? No. Where did he find this out? I don't know. Oh, no. We're not at the best part. You see, my friends, let's talk about that special scene. That scene that's been going all over Twitter, right? Flash is death. And if some of you are wondering, no, this was not in the comic. Not at all. Okay, so here's what happens, right? Flash searches the city, right? And he somehow finds this very specific spot that Joker set up somehow, right? And then he finds the Scarecrow and he's like, who done this? It's Scarecrow, but dead. And it's like, oh, wow. And then fear gas comes into the AC. I don't know how he timed that in the exact way he did. Fine, whatever. And then he gets fear gas, and then Flash is like, oh, no, I can't move. And then he, like, moves slightly, even though he... Whatever. So, like, instead of, like, running away before, you know, the gas hits him, he just kind of continues to do nothing. And then something from the dead in his dream holds his feet, and then a buzzsaw comes out of nowhere and kills him? What? Let's never mind the fact that he could have just run away, like I've previously mentioned. Let's not mention the fact that he can phase through things, which usually when people grab him, he can just phase out of it, right? Because he's that fast. But let's forget all that. The Flash could just duck. Oh, that's not even the funniest death in the whole movie. Oh, no. We will get to that. Dude, let's not even mention the fact that fear gas doesn't stun you with fear. That's not how fear gas works. Fear gas makes you see, like, certain things that you think are bad and evil. But, like, why didn't... Okay, wait. I just realized something. So if Flash gets stunned with fear and he can't move, why doesn't Superman get stunned with fear when he gets a version of fear gas as well? So, while all this is going on, all at the same time, there's a few events that happens. Joker shoots Jimmy, takes Lois into the submarine, then takes Lois in the submarine, right? Places something in her heart that when it stops, bomb goes off. Doesn't make sense. And he's doing this simultaneously while a warhead is, like, also being triggered inside of, like, a clock somewhere in Metropolis that lets all this happen. And he's doing this under the time of, like, a few minutes. I kid you not. Just a few minutes. He gets to the submarine, he shoots Jimmy, he does all this, and somehow gets a warhead, somehow, and also gets this piece of kryptonite, somehow, and all under the course of a few minutes creates kryptonite fear gas, again, somehow, and also hooks up Lois to the bomb, somehow, and then also somehow gets the bomb all the way up there. Somehow. Oh, we're not even at the worst part yet. Oh, but get this. So Superman, once taking Lois, thinking that it's Doomsday, takes him right up to space. Okay, this version of Superman is clearly smarter than the one of Man of Steel. Good to know. But when he goes all the way up into space, Lois has multiple seconds of her heart just going on, right? Where she's still thumping. And he realizes that it's Lois. So instead of Superman just going down, grabbing her and taking her to safety, he just kind of stands there and like, oh no, this is sad. Instead of like doing anything, even though, again, He has super speed. He could just take her down, but nah, Batman. We're not even close. Again, then when has this all happen and the bomb goes off, whatever, right? He rushes all the way to Joker, and then Green Lantern intercepts him, which, like, how? How did the Green Lantern even intercept him? Where did he come from? How'd you guys meet? Does he have a tracker on him? Does Green Lantern have a tracker on him? And then he takes his ring, and then he goes to kill Joker. Once hearing that the Joker was killed by Superman, Harley escapes. She was taken into custody, and then she escapes in the police car. First off, why is she in a police car? I thought that Joker and Harley were both taken at the exact same time to the police station, so Harley should have just been in the police station. Number two, Harley escapes in this cop car. How? She bangs down the little bit of front of it. Somehow gets both officers, instead of them just reaching for their gun and shooting her. She somehow gets them, chokes one guy out, and then also knocks out the other guy somehow with this little window. Again, I don't know how. Knocks him out of the car, and then starts driving the police car back to her Joker hideout, and then where she crashes the car, basically, in front of it, doesn't even hide it, leaves the police car as it is, and then goes back inside. And then, like, in the matter of, like, a minute, Green Arrow shows up out of nowhere and somehow found her. And he's like, I found you. You're not keeping a low profile. How'd you even know? She just got out of the car, like, a few minutes ago. How are you even here? It doesn't make any sense.
Your laws are weak and ineffective, twisted by evil people to escape just punishment. Or they simply don't apply at all.
To believe that, you have to be an idiot. Plain and simple. Just because some people don't want the death penalty, right? That doesn't mean that they are evil. What kind of morality system is this? Thank you, Wonder Woman, for being the pinnacle of reason and moral virtue. Thank you, Wonder Woman. I'm so glad that they slandered this character. You know, somebody that was, like, fought for the good of the country back in, like, World War II and whatever, and, like, stood for, like, equal rights and stuff, and then, like, stood for, like, a sense of peace and purpose. No. She's got to be, like, a war criminal and, like, basically a mass murderer. Thank you. That's the version of Wonder Woman that is so great. Superman takes out the Bialya leader. Don't know why. Out of all the countries, you could have taken, like, Iran. You could have taken leaders in Afghanistan. You could have been taking out leaders in Iraq. You could have been taking leaders in Saudi Arabia. You could do any of these countries. But he doesn't choose that. He chooses Bialya. Why? I don't know. Okay, so then Superman goes to the United Nations, right? And he sits in there, and then he starts banging his fist, and he's like, this is what we have to do about the Jews, right? No, I'm kidding. Okay, so Superman sitting there, and he's like, I'm going to take full control. If you're a leader or a dictator, I'm going to start coming in there. I'm going to start ripping up your place. I'm going to take you out of control, right? My hair is getting insane, right? So he expresses this, and the UN stands up and starts clapping for him. No, the UN wouldn't do that. The UN is against that type of involvement to such a level. Like, this is such a stupidity. Like, just going in there and taking dictators is not a smart thing to do. Even if you're Superman, you can't be doing this because of all the moral consequences and the consequences of others in those areas. So yes, we know that that's bad from a Superman standpoint. Fine, whatever. But why doesn't the UN understand that? Them, out of all people, should know that.
The Justice League cannot be the world's police force.
But the Justice League are the world's police force. That is literally their job. When an alien shows up, or like Lex Luthor takes over the city, or Joker bombs China and Hiroshima, I don't know, right? That is their job. They are literally the world's police force. They call them in for, like, terrible things that have happened, sometimes even non-superhero related, and they call them into these places. And they are the world's police force. That's what they do!
One law. To do what's right.
Let me get this straight, right? If I murder 6 people, rape 7 women, stab 2 guys in the genitals, take somebody else's money, then steal somebody's car, and I say, I'm doing what's right. Does that mean that Superman wouldn't punish me? I don't know, because these rules are so inconsistent. This doesn't make any sense. Who would base around a government based on one law? A law that is so vague, anything could take place. Oh, that's so great. Thank you, Wonder Woman. You're the epitome of what's wrong with this movie. Okay, I have to stand up for this part, right? I need to express how bad this is. Okay, so, you know Aquaman, you know Green Lantern, you know, Shazam, right? All 3 of them play a pretty crucial role in the Injustice universe. Aquaman was pretty important to the, leading to the seas. He was pretty important in terms of him literally being the king of the ocean. He has a lot of say. He has a lot of sway. Obviously, Shazam is pretty important, especially in the, kill the Hercules and like all the other gods, right? That's pretty important. And the Green Lanterns are important because of literally the whole arc of the Green Lanterns invading. So even after saying all that, and you don't like it from the perspective of the comics, fine. But either way, these 3 heroes, or not 3, they're technically more than 3, have a moral obligation to try and be there when this thing happens. So when Superman does all this and like interfering with foreign leaders, Aquaman is just like, okay guys, I'm not a part of this. I'm leaving. Why? And then, guess what? Shazam comes over here and he's like, I don't like this. I'm not going to be a part of this. And then the Green Lantern's like, we're being called back to, I'm not going to be a part of this. No! Mass character assassination on an inimaginable level, right? And like I said, or as I've failed to mention so far, these characters do not show up ever again in the movie. They leave. That means all the actions, all the terrible deeds that you see throughout this movie, all these heroes could have showed up and stopped it, but instead they chose to do nothing. This is terrible. Oh my god. So obviously, Aquaman leaving is terrible because he actually, like, I know he cares about some of the surface dwellers. He does care about, like, the people in the oceans. Sure he does. I'm not going to ignore that. But he also cares about the people living on the surface dwellers, right? Then you have Shazam, which, again, let me remind you people that didn't, like, know about Shazam's origin story. He was chosen because he was a good of heart. He wouldn't just leave. And then we have the Green Lanterns, which, number one, this is an assassination for Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, and Hal Jordan, for them just leaving when characters like this wouldn't do this because they have the willpower to help people. And this is a massive character assassination of, guess what? Well, dun dun dun. Also, the people of Oa. Yes! The counselors, the guardians, their whole job is based around when things like this happen, the Green Lantern stepping in. That's why they were important in the comics, because they saw that Superman was being, hey, he's being evil, let's go send in our police force, was the idea behind them in the first place. That's like, all these characters that are leaving right now literally have a moral obligation that is based around, in their background, to help people, and they just leave. This is terrible writing. So let's talk about the Pa Kent plan, right? So they don't like the fact that they can't control the drone strikes, right? It's nothing like, these drone strikes aren't bad anyway, right? The drone strikes wouldn't be like drone striking children. Point being, they don't like Superman interfering, right? So they come up with this marvelous plan, right? And their plan is to capture his parents and give them to Mirror Master, right? And then Mirror Master will hide him in a dimension, and then, like, they'll have control over Superman, right? That's the idea. It was kind of in the comic. Didn't like it in the comic either. So Mirror Master, right? What does the U.S. government do with Mirror Master, right? He's your key to holding the most powerful man, Superman, to his knees, right? What is Mirror Master doing? What is the U.S. government doing? Mirror Master is hanging out at a bar. A bar. This is your number one ace in the hole of trying to stop Superman. And you want your number one man to sit alone in a bar completely unprotected. And then you think that he's protected because he slips into the mirror, right? And then Raven gets into the mirror, which, by the way, Raven is never seen again. That character also completely disappears, but fine, whatever. She grabs him and then pulls him out. So I guess Raven's only useful when the plot needs it to happen. So, like, none of this makes any sense. Like, instead of the US, like, coming up with, hey, Superman's vulnerable to kryptonite and red sun and magic. Let's take either of these three things. No, the U.S. government's like, just, like, take his parents, use Mirror Master or something. So no, just use kryptonite weaponry. Work with Batman even. Why is the government so stupid? And then, wait for it, the president doubts that Superman would kill him. He's like, Superman wouldn't do that. It's like my gamer. He has literally dethroned multiple leaders previously with, like, Israel and Palestine, which is such a stupid thing, but whatever. He forces them, and he's like, if you don't sign these, you will regret it, or something like that. He forces them to sign these, like, these contracts, right? To work together to make sure to keep the peace. Do you think that Superman just wouldn't use force in that case? Because he certainly has, and he certainly will. So why are you doubting the fact that Superman wouldn't be able to kill him? It's ridiculous. Dude, there's so little keeping me alive right now except for this Slurpee, dude. Oh, dude. My skin itches. I feel like my skin's gonna peel off, but we're gonna do this.
You see his point, right?
You were never as stubborn as him.
I wouldn't say it's an assassination, but it's really, really all for your character. Again, Dick Grayson very much abiding by the morals that Batman has said. If not more, that he is way more laxed in. Because he didn't like Batman's brutality. And he's like, oh, man. Superman, like, killing a bunch of dictators and, like, interfering in, like, these foreign affairs and, like, making his own form of justice. He's got a point, right? Blip, beep, boosh. No. Then we have the part where Green Arrow and Superman and whatever, they're all having this big tiffy. Superman's gonna go over to Arkham Asylum with his gang, strolling in just as you would, and, like, is gonna start sort of kidnapping prisoners and putting them in, like, a weird detention facility that we'll get to later. Fun. Hooray. Unlike the comic, I'm pretty sure in the comic he just basically, like, murdered them, but whatever. So basically, he goes in and Batman's like, hey, Green Arrow, bring your arrow and stuff. And then when he's in the Arrow bike or whatever, in the Arrow car, he's driving up there. And then Harley shows up out of nowhere from the back seat. And then she's like, you couldn't stop me from bringing Supes to justice. It's like Hero, and then you can see my boobs, and it's like, what is going on? What is this movie? And then she, like, brings out his sleeping gas arrow, which he has used on her, and uses it on him, crashes the car, and then gets into Arkham Asylum. But we're not even at the best part about this whole action scene. So, we have number one, Robin just appears at Arkham, which, without any explanation as to how he got there, even though he didn't come with Batman and Nightwing, and the last place we saw him was in the Batcave, so how did he get to Arkham? So whatever. And then Harley, like, amidst wanting to be hero, starts killing innocent guards in the security cam, and then lets all the bad guys free for some reason. And then, all of a sudden, Harley just kind of disappears from the scene for some reason. Not as in, like, there was a clip showing her of, like, her walking away or her getting away. That doesn't happen. Harley just, like, after she releases everybody, she disappears, as in the scene doesn't show her ever in that scene. Ever. Like, even at the end. So, Superman should be able to find where she is, and be able to find where Harley is, because she literally let everyone out, and he has hearing, which, super good hearing, as established earlier on in the movie, but he doesn't find Harley? And then, of course, we have the classic scene where Nightwing gets gotten. He gets vibe checked so hard that he dies. He gets, Damian throws a baton at his forehead, and, crack. He's dead. The Arkham scene, to me at least, wasn't great in the comics either. But in the comic, they have this great shot, right? They redeem it with this one shot, right? When Batman sees that Nightwing is dead, he brings his body, gets his body up, and then starts walking him out, right? And it's this very powerful scene where the heroes are on either the left or the right side, right? And then the villains are on the other side. It's a sad moment of respect for this character, right? That this death wasn't done nearly in vain, which can be how it feels in the Injustice comic when people die left and right. It's very easy to misconstrue it as disrespect. But the movie kind of just moves on from this point and doesn't have that iconic shot. Because with that iconic shot, that tells so much about the story, and they left it out. So they kept in the death, but didn't, like, keep in the part where they kind of redeemed it. Again, kind of. The Arkham scene is such a mess, and the action scene is terrible. And then they call, like, Calendar Killer, like, a terrible villain, which is not true. He's underrated. Shut up, okay? Let's move on. So then, as of the next scene, Robin just starts working with Ra's al Ghul. I could not make this up if I tried. Robin shouldn't be doing this. Damian shouldn't be doing this. At all. Like, period. This is out of character for him. Maybe him saying he wants to kill somebody, or like he thought it was okay when Superman like yeeted Joker's dead body, right? Like, that makes sense to me, at least to some degree. Kind of undoes his arc, and that's kind of an issue, but fine. Leave it be. But for Robin to work with Ra's al Ghul goes against the very origin of his character. The whole point of Robin, or Damian Wayne in this case, to become Robin, was the fact that he turned away from the League of Assassins, worked with Batman, and then learned there was a better way. Even if that requires killing or none. There was a difference there between how Wraith's authoritarianism versus actual crime fighting, right? There's a big difference. And it's not just like one kills, one doesn't. There's a big difference. And for him to just start working with Ra's al Ghul makes no sense. Even if it's his grandfather, it doesn't make sense. This is not something the character would do at all. And then we have the Superman chess talk. Oh boy, how do I even describe this? If I even can. Superman decides to have this talk about what he'll do in his society, right? He starts playing chess with Mr. Terrific, and they start talking, right? In the comic, there is something like this that happens, but again, I won't be mentioning that. In this dialogue, we are shown how much of an idiot Superman is. He hasn't thought out any of his ideas for this government or like his plans, because as soon as he says, I want to ban guns, and Mr. Terrific is like, well, cigarettes and like car crashes kill more. It's like, oh no. And then like Superman like doesn't understand any of this and doesn't have like the verbal language to fight back against any of this. Instead of saying, hey, that argument's kind of ridiculous because this and this point. But he doesn't do that. And he doesn't like make any good counterpoints. He's just like, oh, you aren't going to help me, are you? And it's like, it's Superman. Maybe if you weren't such an idiot for 2 seconds and actually thought out your government, you would be much better. But, oh boy. So, then they have this big fight scene in the fortress. Boy, oh boy, it's really something. They start fighting in the fortress, where people come in, and then they just start spraying. Ra's al Ghul's in. It's ridiculous. And then Pa Kent's there. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Pa Kent, Superman found Pa Kent. He went up to Mirror Master, grabbed his belt, and then went into it. And then the next thing we know, Pa Kent's in the fortress. How did he find this, even though Wonder Woman said that it was nearly impossible? We don't know. It's just done off screen. Okay, so all this while this is happening, Superman like goes into the fortress. He's like, you can't stop me. Bum, bum, bum. And then he starts to fight the Atom, which again is off screen. Even though Atom in the last scene says that he can defeat Superman, the simulations taught him, but I guess that means nothing, but hey, whatever. So the Atom and Superman start fighting, then Superman rolls up to his homies, and he's like, nah, you can't do this, I'm gonna stop you, you can't take the red sun generator thingy, whatever. And then he's like, Batman's like, I've got a plan. And then Superman like collapses, he's like, no, my head. And it's like, what is going on? It's like, at first you think it's like a type of ringing noise, because that's what you hear in the scene, but then Batman explains that the Atom somehow, while fighting with Captain Atom, got into his skull and has a fraction of a piece of kryptonite. It is terrible. And not to mention, Raish comes in this scene, and he's like, I got my guys, and they've all got guns. And instead of, like, just standing there and shooting them, they, like, come up and they do the Winter Soldier thing where they start running at them with the guns, instead of, like, actually, like, staying their distance and just spraying, and then they would easily be killed because they have no cover. But, hey, whatever. Cool, I guess. Nobody cares about it. The red sun thingy gets blown up by Raish, and then Raish is like, I've come here to save you, and it gives him, like, the juice, and then Superman, like, inhales the juice, and then Adam dies. But that doesn't stop the kryptonite. The kryptonite is still there in his brain and should be still hurting him, but that doesn't happen, I guess. And Adam dies. He's like, oh! And it's terrible. It's awful. And then, to wrap this whole thing up, Green Arrow comes up with him with a kryptonite arrow. And by the way, Green Arrow hasn't used that sleeping gas arrow at all. It's the tentacle blade. He has it, but he refuses to use it. Thank you, movie, for teaching me about another tentacle blade in a movie. Thank you for that. That's exactly what I needed. Anyway, so Green Arrow comes up with this kryptonite arrow, and he's like, I'm gonna shoot you, Superman. And then he like, pew! And then he shoots it at him. Instead of getting closer to him to where it like would weak him, he just like shoots it from afar for some reason. And then Superman goes, no. Even though, like, kryptonite should weaken him, even if it, like, gets close, it should be able to weaken him. As we see, with a tiny piece in his skull, it's still whatever. So he knocks it out, and just so happens in the right place, at the right time, at the exact precision, it hits his Pa Kent, his dad, his papa, right in the chest, and kills him. Oh, it was funny in the comic, but here it's way worse. And then Pa Kent fucking dies. He dies there on the spot. He dies. And then Superman's like, no, you can't do that. And then he goes, and then he lasers Green Arrow to death. So because Green Arrow and Superman are in India, Pa Kent dies. And these next string of events all lead to this, because apparently Superman was like fine, okay at this point. But you see, here's the main issue that I have with this movie that I think is a critical issue, something that the comic hits upon, and something that people need to learn in general, right? This is even something that the God Among Us video game has, right? It's a big issue. Superman should not just be able to flip in one switch and then go bad guy, right? It doesn't work that way. That's what's something that I liked about the comic, was that they give you this year 1, year 5 timeline where you can see he's getting progressively worse, right? So when he does things at the end of year 5, you go, that's year 5 Superman. And then he does something in year 1 Superman, you're like, that's year 1 Superman, right? It makes sense. There's a correlation, there's a process that goes into making him evil Superman. In Gods Among Us, he just rips somebody's like arm and then we jump to him and then he's suddenly evil, right? And then in this movie, Pa Kent dies, and then Superman goes psycho. Because here's the next string of events. Oh boy, I'm gonna need a drink for this. So, after Pa Kent dies, Superman goes to Mr. Terrific, captures Mr. Terrific, forces him against his own will to make T-spheres that can, like, surveillance everybody at all times, and then, when this is happening, Superman goes around to, like, one of these houses, and he sees one of these houses and they're praising the Joker. And then Superman just lasers everybody and kills everybody in that house, in that party, right? It is unbearably bad. No, I don't buy it at all. This has not been something that's been built up with like years of time or like built up over the course of the period. He just goes nuts. Is this worse than Man of Steel Superman? I think he's getting there, but it's weird. It's really bad. And something like this is unfathomable, right? So, Plastic Man somehow has been a chair for like a week, maybe. I don't know. He's been a chair. Harley got to sit on him. Maybe there's some fantasy there involved. Who cares, right? So, Plastic Man and Mr. Terrific, or actually I should say, Plastic Man gets sent to the super secret prison where he goes to find Mr. Terrific. And Mr. Terrific, they break out and whatever, and then, oh my god. So Mr. Terrific's like, we need to get it out of here. And he's like, yeah, how do we do that? And he's like, okay, we shoot the water. Shoot the little glass, because it's underwater, right? And he's like, okay. So Dick Grayson, Which, by the way, Dick Grayson's alive. Well, he's a ghost. After saying that, some of you may be very confused. And I was too. You see, once he died, this blue lady came out of nowhere and was like, nah, man, you're not dead yet, yeet. And then he gets, like, put into Dead Man, right? Once I first saw this, I thought I was on drugs. But whatever, fine. He turns into Dead Man. And then Grayson sees this and he's like, oh, okay, he wants me to shoot out the water. Okay, so he takes control of Cyborg, makes him shoot the glass out, and then the water comes dumping in. And then Mr. Terrific's like, oh, okay, we can get out of here, Plastic Man. So him and Plastic Man head up, and they escape. The problem that these characters didn't assess for, especially these two characters, is that they get completely character assassinated because there are still prisoners inside that area. There are living people in there that they let out, and water fills up the whole place, and they drowned. They let them die. I'm standing up because I need to attract about how bad this is, right? Amazo, I kid you not, is sent in because Raish and Superman are working together. Why? We don't know, even though Superman was thoroughly against Ra's al Ghul at the beginning, but whatever. They start working together now. Amazo Bucks gets shipped in. He's a form of authoritarian figure, and he's like, he sees somebody littering, and then he's like, starts blowing him up with his laser beams, right? And then the police come in and say, hey, don't do that. And then the police gets blown up and blows up everybody on Smallville, right? It is ridiculous. Superman comes in here and is like, whoa, this is out of control. And he's like, stop it, Raish. The robot is malfunctioning. And then Raish is like, no, you are. And it's like, what? So they start fighting, and then Amazo just like gets hit by a hammer, and then he like absorbs Hawkman's hammer. It's very bizarre. So then Cyborg becomes a giant cannon gun. Don't ask me. And then he starts shooting at him, and then Amazo's like, no, it's not happening. And so he rips him apart, and he's like, no. Apparently all the Justice Leaguers are not here yet, I guess. And then, like, Hawkman comes out of nowhere, and he's like, I'm gonna stop you. So he absorbs his hammer, and then he beats him, and he dies. Okay? So, Amazo here, and then Batman comes in, and he's like, hey, we need to stop him. And then everybody comes in, it's like a big CGI boss fight, because that's something that I love about superhero movies, dude. We can't have one, like, single superhero movie without having a giant big CGI thing, right? So they come in, and they're like, oh no, we gotta stop him. So everybody's working together. They like use the power, and then Harley like launches Catwoman into like space at this point because it's so high, and he knocks him into ice, which they freeze him, and then they like rip him apart, and then they kill him. And then everybody's like, okay, we did it. And then Superman's like, nope, I'm not done being evil yet. So he's like, starts hitting Wonder Woman because he starts disagreeing with her about something. So he goes into weird, like, rampage mode, and he starts, like, destroying everything, I guess. And then they're like, I have a plan. So Mr. Terrific's like, get into place, set up a giant box, which, like, boxes that, like, control the universe, or no, not control the universe, like, get into other worlds out of these boxes. I don't know why. I don't know how this works. Whatever. So he sends in there, and he's like, okay, I found a good Superman. So good Superman and bad Superman start fighting each other. And the Justice League don't do anything. I kid you not. The Justice League, during all this, Justice League could use this as an advantage to get to Superman, right? To get to the bad Superman and stop him permanently. But I guess they got confused, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll just set this one out. And just, like, chill and whatever. Even though if this bad Superman wins, then that's pretty much all over. So, yeah, they start fighting, and then Mr. Terrific's like, no, I've got one more plan on my sleeve. So he runs back into the boxes because they're multiverse and stuff, and then he comes out and is like, look, it's Pregnant Lois. And then Pregnant Lois, so Pregnant Lois comes out here. Right, and she's like, oh, I lost my Superman to Brainiac, which I don't know how they find her in that amount of time, but hey, whatever. So he's like here, and then bad Superman goes up to her, and he's like, oh my god, I guess I'm not evil anymore, I guess, kind of. So, and then he, like, everybody's like, yeah, Superman, don't be bad, yeah, and then he flies off. He just flies off. He flies off. Selina and Batman kiss, and that's the end of the movie. We don't know what happened to Superman, if he was like, oh man, like going to jail, or like going to like take over Korea. He could have like destroyed China. He could have been banging supermodels. I don't know. I don't know what he did. That's the ending. To say the least, I hated this movie. Oh, thank you, dog, for barking. So I hated this movie with an absolute passion. It was really, really bad. Yeah, there's nothing much more to say about it. It's god awful. This is literally one of the worst DC AMU movies I've seen in a while. Like, period. Nothing tops this. Of course, Justice League Apocalypse War, which is like a 0.5 out of 10. And then, like, BVR, which is Batman versus Robin, which is really bad, but I don't know. They're up there with like the worst ones, but I can't choose which one is worse. It's like a trash versus garbage situation. So yeah, there you go. Hope you enjoyed my rant. Oh, also the voice actors all suck. Joker sounds more like a chain smoker than he does the actual Joker. A chain smoking Pennywise. And that's how to describe this movie in a nutshell. It's all just birthed out of a chain writer. And then I realized, hey, why is the writing so bad? And then Kurt Boyd told me, it's the same guy that wrote Justice League Apocalypse War and Batman Hush. And I was like, oh, that makes sense now. I'm done. The raw footage is nearly an hour. Good night, folks. I hate living. Oh, Subscribble. Smash that like... No, I don't care. I want to die now. Thank you all for enduring that rant. I hope that you can all live through it. And I hope that I will live through this editing.